you guys. Happy Tuesday, day after Labor Day. It is another episode of Anything But Average, Achieving Success in Life. Super happy to have my friend Joe with me here today. He is definitely a success story, and so I'm grateful that he's going to jump on and share a little bit of his story and kind of what he's been doing in real estate, and especially during this weird year of 2020, and how he's thriving in his industry. So Joe, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Tricia, on your show. I'm excited to be here and try to bring as much value as I can.
Tell everybody, if you will, what your role is, where you are in the world, and how long you've been in real estate, please.
Sure. So I'm located here in Olympia, Washington, which is the capital of Washington State. We're about an hour south of Seattle. I'm a team leader, so I run and own a team here at eXp Realty. And I've been in real estate for 16 years. Well, it'll be 17 years, I think, actually, next month. It's crazy. Like, I can't even believe how fast time flies by. Like, it's
neither. So your background in real estate, being in it that long, naturally you started out as an individual agent. How long were you in real estate before you decided you wanted to build a team?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I really started the desire, I would say, to look at building a team in about 2000. It was about 2014. I built my business up to actually, perfecting lead generation and those things. And at that point, I was with an independent office, and we were 100% split and everything. But the biggest problem that I saw was I was generating more business than I could actually service. So, you would try to refer business out to agents, but the problem is, they have their own business and they're not really committed to you as you would say a team member would be committed to you, because they're more in alignment with you because they're actually part of your organization. So that's when I first started really looking at it, because I want to say that year, me and one listing agent that I had, and an assistant, we did, I think it was like around 110 deals, and it was kind of brutal. It was kind of brutal with that small of a structure, because that's what a lot of people, they're like, oh man, I want to crush it and I want to do a ton of business. But the problem is I had no life. Like I had no life because I was just pretty much in the office until like 9 or 10 at night. So That's when I was kind of like, man, like, luckily I didn't have a family yet. It was me and my wife, but we didn't have kids at that point. But I was like, man, like, I'm gonna have to make a change, going forward, because I wasn't really loving it. I wasn't really having the fun that I used to have with the business at that point.
So is that when you switch from being part of an independent brokerage to then a big box company?
That's correct. So
okay.
So I made the transition. It was about, I want to say about a year and a half later. I want to say over to Keller Williams, because they sold that team model. The principal owner of that company, he had a successful real estate team. He used a lot of the same systems I used. So I was like, I saw the success that he had, and the freedom that he had too, right?
Yeah.
The freedom in his day to day, because he really put the systems in place and leverage people as well. And I was like, man, I want that. And like, I was like, I think I can do that, because, I didn't think he was, that much more intelligent than me. He just figured out the right system and the right setup to do it. So that's when I made the switch over to Keller Williams, and I actually started building my team.
How big of a team did you build when you were at Keller Williams?
I didn't. The interesting thing is, when I was over there, I didn't build like a crazy big team. It was more just putting the systems in place. I really leveraged ISAs, so inside sales agents. For people that don't know what that means, is those are people that are going to be doing inbound and outbound follow-up on our leads, online lead generation, as well as outbound lead gen, which in our business is, for sale by owners, expireds, canceled, withdrawals, and then also circle prospecting. So that's kind of that's kind of what I did. And I only hired about 6 agents, and there were a lot of teams bigger than our team over there. But the problem is, or not the problem, really the cool thing was that we were able to just really be highly leveraged because, we make money when we're actually meeting with somebody that wants to sell a home or wants to buy a home, right?
Yes.
All the other things that we do, they're not very high dollar productive activities, as we say, right?
No. And so were you in production all of that time when you were at Keller Williams also?
Yeah, so I've always been in production. It's not really something that I've looked to get out of because I am a people's person. So I really like building relationships with people. I really get a lot of satisfaction from this business, from really helping sellers mainly now, but before it was buyers and sellers. Really solve problems and really just kind of be that go-to for them, for somebody that they know is going to show up when they need them and it's going to actually follow through and actually over deliver, on the client care experience that we try to give somebody. So at this point I'm still in production, but it's just something I love dealing with people on the day-to-day and really building those what we say lifetime relationships, right?
And so I'm imagining when you were at Keller Williams, you probably just collaborated with people there locally, correct?
Yeah, that's very, very true. So when we were there, you have your market center at Keller Williams, and it was mostly just collaborating with other people there. But when you're in that type of environment, people are going to collaborate with you to a certain degree. They're not going to tell you everything because at the end of the day, we're all in business for ourselves.
Yep.
And so they would tell you some things, but they're not going to tell you, all of their secrets of, what's really working for them and how they're crushing the real estate business, because obviously that's their competitive edge or their competitive advantage.
And so the only reason that I even know you and that we're friends is because of us working in with EXP. And so when you switched over, you've been with EXP, you just told me you just celebrated your 3rd year. What was it that intrigued you moving from Keller Williams to EXP when you look back?
Yeah, really the biggest thing that really intrigued me was really the value that I could bring my team members. That was really the biggest thing because we all work very hard in this business. But if we're very honest about this, most agents that are in this business for 10, 20, 30 years, when they walk out of this business, most of them leave with hardly anything. They've sold a lot of homes, they've helped a lot of people, but the unfortunate part that I recognized was that your book of business you have that's not a sellable asset, right? It's not something that we can really sell to another agent. They're not going to pay us a lot of money for that.
No.
For us it's very valuable, but for them it's not going to be very valuable. So I'm 38 years old. I'm like, hey, I'm going to probably be in this business another at least 20 years. And I was like, that's going to go by fast, right?
Yeah.
Because these last 16 going on 17 years, they've gone by like that, like a blink of the eye. So it was really about looking at that long-term picture for myself and my team of, how can we look up, 10 or 20 years from now and, really see that, my team members are in a very good financial position for them and their family. So when they want to take their foot off the gas, they have that luxury, they have that freedom. And, this is really the only model that I've seen that has been able to do this. My fear was if I didn't make that switch that, you're just going to look up and that time's going to fly by and you're still going to be on what we call that transaction treadmill, right?
Yep.
Where you did great in 2020, but guess what? You got to do it again in 2021.
Yes. And so when you switched over, of course, you brought your team with you, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And now you've been growing it, haven't you, since then?
Yeah. I've been growing my team, and the interesting thing with us was we were the first people even in my marketplace with EXP.
Okay.
So the office that we even started down here, we came over with, I want to say about six or seven team members at that time, and from there, I think right now we're at about like 80 in our total office.
Love it.
So and that, all that's happened is organically. I mean, I know EXP gets kind of a bad rap, or some people have preconceived notions in their head, like, oh, you guys are recruiters, this and that. But really, this has all happened organically from people reaching out to us, just being curious about the model because they've heard
Yeah.
things, and it's usually mostly just organic conversations of people wanting to know more about it. And we give them that information. We say, hey, if you guys want to know more about it, feel free to reach out. We're happy to have coffee with you or something like that. But so I think people are just starting to really pay attention to the company now because
Yeah.
of obviously the growth, right? The growth that we're having as a company. Obviously, the stock's doing exceptionally well. So
Right.
people are really starting to like turn their head and they're like, okay, like I gotta at least like see what this is, because I can't ignore this anymore. So
No. And so when I met you, you were one of the first people that I met. So now I've been with EXP for 2 years, and you were one of the first people that I met 2 years ago. And I was immediately impressed with you. And because we started talking production, what are you doing for
yeah,
production? And, your numbers are like insane, just like you and I just talked about. You closed out 2019 at 80 million.
yeah,
You'll do it again this year, despite COVID and having a down market for a couple of months there where we couldn't really practice very much real estate. And so when I look at like the history of just the 2 years that I've been with the company, I can say for me, and everybody's different, but
yeah.
for me, I think my greatest aha with the company is the relationships that I've built with you and all of our friends across the whole United States, and that we really collaborate to help each other and our agents.
Exactly.
You can't get
Exactly.
that anywhere.
No, and the biggest thing that I do love about it is that collaboration is because, again, because of the alignment that we're all in this company, as it's all being owners in this company, it's a different type of level of collaboration where you're not really holding back anymore, because if you win, Tricia, I win, vice versa, right? And so that's how I've kind of that's kind of how I've been here locally too. Is if it's an EXP agent and they need help with anything, I don't really care if they're part of my organization or whatnot. If I can help them, I'm going to help them, because there's a lot bigger picture here, with this company and kind of where we're going here in the future. So
Well, I think of it like this. It's like I've been in real estate forever, just like you have. And so when you look back years ago, real estate is a hard industry, period. And when you look at a lot of people's production, and everybody's got different goals, of course, but a
yeah,
lot of people, they've either production has gone down or it's remained the same
yeah,
for years. And as time goes on and things evolve and these disruptors keep coming at us, they're not going to go away, these disruptors. They're just coming at us with fire. And
yeah,
so for me, who had an independent brokerage, it's like there's no protection from an army of disruptors like that. But
nope,
what we have now is like some of the top producers, the biggest team leaders, the biggest broker owners in the industry, all under one brokerage now, fighting that back. Like we're fighting together.
yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, no, that's huge, and you have the founder of our company that is very much in alignment with that. Where a lot of these other companies, not saying real estate companies, but your Zillows out there, your Open Doors, some of those bigger companies, where it's about one thing. It's about bottom line number, return on investment, where
Yep.
they're not actually thinking about the actual employees of that company or the shareholders of that company. They're thinking about them, but not the actual employees. Where that's what's very, very nice and very refreshing to see, is the leadership of this company.
Yep.
It's something that you don't see every day. And so I love seeing the investments that they make when we get new announcements, right? of the new tech that they're buying for a company, or that they want to compete head to head with a Redfin or with a Zillow. You don't have a lot of companies out there that, number one, are going to be able to do that because they're not going to have the budget to do that.
Yeah.
Number two, you just don't have a lot of owners like Glenn Sanford, or founders like Glenn Sanford, I should say, that really has the background in tech to really understand where everything is going.
No. And so when you look at your market there, like here in Houston, we have a lot of disruptors. How is it for you guys there? Is there always people coming at you?
Do you want to know the crazy thing? So the crazy thing is, a lot of these disruptors that we talk about, they actually are in my backyard. So that's the crazy thing. So let's look at Redfin. Redfin was founded here in Seattle, right?
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's where their headquarters is.
Wow.
You look at Zillow, same thing. They were founded here in Seattle. So, but the interesting thing is, I don't know for what reason. I think it also has to play out with what they call homogeneous housing and price points. They're not really using a lot of those programs here in our marketplace, because I think just the cost of housing is a lot more, right? So
what's your average price point there?
So our average price point in my main market is about 380,000. Up in Seattle, you're going to be around 600, 650. So it just makes the acquisition of holding assets, it's going to make it a lot more costly for them over time. So I think that's why we see them venturing to markets like Phoenix, right, or Texas, like where you're at, or Orlando, when they're launching these kind of test pilot programs to kind of see how they go. Because I think, what's your average price down there, Tricia?
Like 250 to 275.
Yeah. Yep. So here on the West Coast, pretty much up and down, the cost of living is going to be, a little bit more for everything. So I think that's why we haven't really seen them rear their head in our market yet.
So do you traditionally stay in a seller's market there?
I mean, we've been in a seller's market, I want to say, for about four to 5 years. So it's been
crazy.
It's been crazy. And I tell agents, because a lot of the newer agents, they don't even know the difference, right? Agents that have been in the business for 2 or 3 years, I'm like, I will not be sad when it goes back to more of a kind of balanced market.
I bet so. So for you guys to keep a listing on the market, I mean, what is it, a day? Less than a day?
Yeah, I mean, you can literally, if you want to, most listings, you can sell them in a day or maybe 2 days. I mean, if something's on the market, like typically like a week or 2 weeks, you have agents that are calling you and they're like, hey, what's the matter with this this property, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the funny thing is, because you've been in the business for a very long time, like myself, we remember 2008, 9, 10, 11. I remember when properties were on the market for like 3 to 6 months. Like that was just the norm. So I'm just very curious, I would say, to when we're going to see some relief, like of more inventory, which is, I don't know about your market, but here we're not seeing a lot.
So when COVID hit, like here in Houston, we were like on the brink of having an amazing, amazing seller season, because we were kind of in a flat market last year. Okay. It was an average market, it was called. We were definitely not in the seller's market. And then the beginning of this year, things started turning around, and then COVID hit. Well, for us, our market has continued to thrive, and inventory is at an all-time low here. How has COVID affected you guys there?
Yeah, so it's COVID basically intensified things, meaning we would have probably seen more inventory come on the market this year, but when COVID hit, a lot of people that we were getting ready to work with, clients, that were wanting to sell properties, they put the brakes on, and they were like, hey, like we're gonna wait this thing out. And I was like, no problem. Like, I totally understand, because at that point, none of us really knew how to really handle it, protocols, any of those things about showings, how to keep your clients safe. So I was like, hey, totally get it. We'll be here for you when you're ready to do something. So that really kind of took, I would say, additional inventory out of the market for 2020. And then once rates dropped, it just created this frenzy. I mean, I want to say last week, one property we saw had over 25 offers on it. And it was
Holy
like,
crap.
it was insane. And this isn't like this is just a regular average home. It's not anything that's, that's super luxurious or anything, but that's how bad, how low of inventory we are in our market, where people, they see something and it's in a very affordable price. It's just like everybody comes out of the woodworks.
So I would imagine one of your biggest challenges has got to be finding somebody a house there, because when you list something, you know it's going to sell. And then, I mean, if those people are trying to stay local, holy crap, that's got to be hard.
Oh, it's brutal, and so that's something that, we have to basically, when you're doing your consultation with clients, with buyers, especially in the buy side, or people that are doing a sell buy, you have to consult with them ahead of time and be like, look, like, you're gonna have probably, the day that you look at the house, that's when you're gonna have to make a decision, because if you don't, that property is gonna be gone. So so it definitely makes it hard, and I feel bad for newer agents that are getting into the business now, because when we all get in the business, we usually start working with buyers, right?
Yes.
And it used to be that you could just find them some homes in the MLS, you'd show them those homes, you'd get a deal under contract, and now it's like you're just clawing and trying to get any type of offer accepted because they got beat out on 5 or 6 offers. So it's I would say it's a little intense.
And I would imagine for like home buyers and home sellers out there, it's imperative in your area that they work with a specialist and an expert, because I mean, it's critical. Like 25 offers on a property, that's unheard of here in Houston. Like if we put like homes with pools right now are the hot thing. They have been ever since COVID, because here we have a lot of master plan communities that have pools. And then once COVID hit and summer was coming, the pools weren't going to open. And then when they did open, they were opened, with all these guidelines and all these stipulations. And then parents are like, I don't even want my kids in that pool with all these weirdos and strangers. So homes with pools are a hot item. And you'll see multiple offers on a home with a pool for sure, but not 25. You might get 5,
Yeah. Here in the Northwest, our summers are maybe 3 to 4 months long. So no pools up here, but yeah, I mean, it's been really just something that I hope to see in this fall, or maybe this winter, things kind of level off a little bit, because I don't know about how your prices are down there, but our prices just keep on jumping up here just because everything gets bid up.
That's what I was just going to ask you. Like here, the appraisers have gotten pretty conservative with value, especially since COVID. But there, I'm imagining with that many offers, it's driving value up. So what is it? A bunch of people with cash? It's got to be.
Yeah. So we have a lot of buyers now, because they're that I don't want to say desperate, but they're that motivated to get in and secure a home that they're willing to pay, over any difference of whatever the appraisal comes in at, right? So we see a lot of that where buyers are stepping up and paying the difference between appraisal and agreed contract price just to secure the property. So yeah, you do see a ton of that just to secure the property, which we haven't really seen stuff like that even in 2000. I want to say 5, 6, or 7, because back then the appraisers were just having obviously everything come in value. But yeah, their appraisers are still conservative, and it's definitely a lot harder because of such a low inventory environment. Like, we're literally having to work with the appraisers hand in hand to try to get them to also locate comps, right? Because we don't have like just this, this great vast amount of comps for them to always choose from. So I mean, usually it's a dialogue where I'm on a phone with appraiser at least, a few times a week, just trying to work through that appraisal.
So here in our market in the South, we do things a lot different. Texas is different, I believe. things are, I don't know, I think we're more rebellious here in Texas, so not a lot of things affect us in the outside world as you see nationally. And I
Yeah.
know you there, you're close to Seattle, and there's a lot of drama and stuff going on there. Has
Oh yeah.
that affected your business at all, or y'all's area at all?
So that really hasn't affected my business just because of me being about an hour away. But
Okay.
we do still do some business in that neck of the woods, and so we have had people, ask us. Like I had one client, I want to say the other day, she was like, how far is this condo away from the protest zone or something? And I'm like, let me Google map that real quick and I'll tell you. And I was like, oh, it's about like 15 minutes away. But they took that down as well. But it definitely, I'm sure, from what I've seen, is it definitely has kind of, I will say, sparked some differences and some debates. Just talking with people, which I don't really care which way on the political spectrum a client is. We're just there to
No.
do our job and help them and respect whatever their decisions are.
So with the end of 2020 or the last quarter of 2020 approaching us, and it's been a weird, crazy year, what has been one of your biggest challenges as a team for this year, do you think?
Probably the biggest challenge that we've faced is we still, before COVID hit and everything, we were all pretty much all in the office every day, right? So we still physically work at in office and everything. And so just adjusting to actually, adapting and using all the tools that we can to virtually still run our team, our team meetings and all of that. So I think that was really the biggest challenge, like kind of like, okay, so how are we going to do this, and how are we going to figure this out? But that's just kind of one of the great things about EXP is they've been set up for that all along, since we're cloud based, that we could really just tap into that, and we were able to figure it out pretty quickly.
And are you guys back in your office now?
So I'm back in the office now, and then my staff, they're in here. We got about like 2,000 square feet, so we have a pretty big space, individual offices and stuff like that. So there's a handful of us that are here on the day to day, and then the rest of the agents pretty much are still working from home, or they might pop in every now and then. But all of our meetings and everything, we still hold those still all virtually. So we do those every single week, every Monday at noon. That's kind of our weekly team meeting, and that's all done virtually. And it's actually been kind of interesting, because before it was kind of like weird to get used to, but now it's pretty normal.
A lot of things have become pretty normal, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
believe it is. Whenever something weird happens, people are just like, just chalk it up to 2020. This is nothing's normal this year, nothing. So are you still growing your team there, or are you at a point where you're comfortable?
So I'm kind of at a point where I'm comfortable, but depending on the fit for people, we will still take on people on our team. So it's just they really have to be that right fit. They have to be somebody that's very very team oriented, somebody that really has a hunger for knowledge and wanting to learn, self improvement, and somebody that's coachable, that's willing to receive coaching and feedback, and wants to continue to improve every day. So I'm definitely, I will say, I'm definitely a little bit more guarded with my time. Whereas before I'd be like, okay, we'll see kind of how this works out. Whereas now, running a team for a while, like you've been doing as well, I would say we kind of understand like what we want in somebody.
Yes.
And we can kind of identify that pretty quickly. I mean, I'm sure you can identify somebody that you're like, oh, okay, they got it, or I can see potential in them, right?
Also that I think it comes with wisdom, and then because we're around so many different people in our industry, but we're all working together, like we're getting involved in other areas of real estate, like you are with Javier. So we're going to have Javier on in a couple of weeks, but it's like, it's opened doors and opened our eyes, I believe, to so much more than just selling homes and running real estate transactionally.
Yeah, for sure. I would say what we really see with, this company that we've all come to is we're building lifelong relationships with each other.
Mhm.
And you're right, that's opening up into other avenues of real estate as well that, some people have perfected, like Javier with the whole Airbnb model where we weren't really educated on that. And then he's like,
Nope.
hey, let me show you what I'm doing. And we're like, oh man, that's impressive. Like show me how you're doing that. And then any type of value that we can provide back, we try to do the same. So I would say that that's definitely something that I really love about this company that we're with.
And the super cool thing about that is that he's a friend of ours. So it's like
Mhm.
anybody can go out there and pitch a product to us. But if I don't know them, I don't really trust them per se. But he's a friend of ours. I mean, he's not going to steer me wrong. Why would he? Or
Yeah,
you?
yeah, definitely. We get pitched every day, right?
Yep.
People hit you up every day, or they're hitting me up every day. And yeah, I mean, we're definitely a lot more guarded with that, but we definitely are going to be a lot more open-minded when it's somebody that's a friend or that's part of our network of our organization or a company, and they have something that they're trying to tell us about. We're going to stop and listen a little bit more intently, I would say.
100%. So before we close out, I want you to share, if you will, 3 success secrets that you think has helped you get to where you are, you and your team. And
Yep.
if for any agents out there that's watching, what they could do to be successful for the rest of this year and next year for sure.
I would say probably the first one would be definitely fail fast. A lot of people, they want to perfect things too much. But in this business, the quicker that you take action and you execute, even if it's imperfect action, you're going to be able to learn and gather intelligence from that to kind of make corrections along the way. You're going to be way further ahead than somebody that's afraid of messing up. So that's what I tell my agents. I'm like, don't be afraid to fail. As long as you're actually taking lessons from that, it's not a failure. It's just a
No.
learning experience. The second thing I would say is relationships, building life-term relationships in this business. It's what your whole business should be built on. Most agents, well, I shouldn't say most, but some agents are transactional, meaning they have a transaction with a client, they sell them a house, and they never talk to them again.
Yes.
Where if you just take the time and you stay in touch with that client, and you check in on them and you show them that you actually care, you'll get, through the lifetime, anywhere from 10 to 20 additional referrals from that one client. If you just actually just built a relationship with them instead of being transactional. That's one of the things I learned later in my career, where all the new agents, I'm telling them this, I'm like, if I would have learned this, in the beginning of my career, I would be so much further ahead. And so I'm like,
Me too.
don't make the same mistake.
I say the same thing. That's a hard one because we become like robotic.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This business really does have us kind of like, very. You can become very task oriented in this business, or you're on to the next deal or per se. But yeah, you really need to build those systems in to your business where you're staying in touch with those people, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. I'm sure you have some client appreciation events.
Yep.
We do too, a couple times a year, so we can really, see what they're up to in their lives and really, show them that we really care, that we're not just here to, do a deal with them and be gone.
Yeah. And what would your third thing be?
My third thing would be definitely learn like you're going to live forever. I see a lot of people, once they obtain a certain level of success, they're just kind of like, oh, I already know that, or I already know this. And I really try to have a mindset of, I know something, but if somebody's doing it better or doing it more efficiently than me, I want to know. I want to know about that, because the most valuable asset that we all have is time.
Yes.
We all have time, and that time goes by fast. It goes by very fast. And if I can do something to be more efficient and to leverage my time, I'm all for that. When you're younger, you really don't notice that much, but the older you get, you have a family and everything like that, you start to realize time is your most valuable asset. So those are three tips that I would give all agents that I think, if they actually take those things and run with them, it will help improve their business.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe, for sharing that. Hey,
Yeah.
tell everybody where they can find you if they want to learn more about you or ask you questions about real estate, EXP, or whatever.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to find me, they can go to our website, www.nwhomeexperts.com, or they can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. Those are the best places to reach me talk about EXP or any real estate related needs. We'd be happy to help you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here today, Joe.
Thank you, Tricia. I look forward to hopefully seeing you here in 2021.
Oh, you will. We have to. We got to get back to our mastermind events,
Absolutely.
Face to face, though, not virtual.
Exactly.
I'll see you soon. Bye, y'all.
All right. Take care.
You too.